How to talk to your spirit guides. All right, so this is going to be an interesting one in that I get a lot of people that ask, like, how do I communicate with my spirit guides or my angels or inner demons, whatever you want to label those elements of consciousness on the other side of the veil. And so the first thing I'll say is that no matter what stage you are, okay, whether you're not awake, in the middle of it, fully psychic, whatever that may be, that, you know, the conscious universe is always communicating with you, always. And the real question is, are you paying attention? With that, you have to understand that they don't speak English or Russian or Chinese or German or Swahili or whatever. They don't speak language, and yet they still communicate. They communicate through vibration, intentionality, through correlated events. So the first thing that you really want to look at here is, what are you communicating to them and how? Okay? If you are a traditional faith person, whether you're Muslim or you're Christian or you're Buddhist, the first thing that you want to be able to do is pray or meditate. So that is an age-old benefit. And we've seen just with that, just a prayer transcends time and changes. And we've seen people pray and things happen. By the way, that's communicating with your spirit guides. So, that's the first practice, is to start the communication, because you can't talk to your guides if you don't start communicating intentionally to them, okay? And so some of it may be going to church, getting on your knees and just praying. That's the most traditional way of doing that. But maybe I invite you to start to add some dimensionality to that, okay? Not just think, not ask about what I want. Definitely ask questions. And we'll talk about manifestation later. But start to talk about preferences. I wouldn't say, or I've learned not to say, I want, because that means I don't have it. But I do have learned to say and to communicate, I prefer. I prefer this, I prefer that, which means I have it, I just want a different version of it. Okay, so that's the first piece. Excuse me. Itchy today. The second piece of this is where you communicate with your spirit. If you're just communicating from your thoughts and your mind, you're ego-based, who really is your friend, no matter what the other literature says. That was a great affirmation. Talk about that in a second. But if you start to communicate with your heart, to communicate, with a love space, with feeling, like not just having a thought, but putting feeling and intentionality behind what you're communicating. Well, that's upping your vibration. That is actually almost like raising your psychic voice. Okay. And then putting imagery with that, however, whatever that is to you, changes that. Okay, or increases that. So the more dimensionality that you can put into that, and by the way, I'm no expert at this. I just telling you what I've learned and what I've worked and what I've experienced. Okay, so that is you transmitting. Now let's talk about receiving. Okay, receiving is amazing. So no matter where you are in your stage of life, the universe is always sending you things. And so what I found is that becomes a personal relationship, and you have to find that language. It's like learning to speak another language that you don't know. And so you have to start to build your lexicon, right? Your body of knowledge that you guys hold in common, so that you can get on the same vernacular. Okay, well, now we need to start talking in energy and experience, because we're not going to hear words. Well, most of us don't. Some have that gift, but you're not really going to hear words. Especially if you are here right now, you're not going to hear words, okay? But like what just happened a minute ago, I talked about something and a little alarm went off, right? That was an affirmation. That was, hey, this is right, okay? So things that I've seen that, depending, I know what communicates to me. Like if I have a real strong thought, I'm out in nature and a bird flies by or caws, I know that thought is dead on. It's just something that we've kind of come to terms with or learn how to talk with each other. Okay, so the most basic is you're having thoughts and an event, a profound event, something that stands out just a little bit, okay? Like I was in a yoga meditation and we were talking about something and there was a profound moment was said, and right afterwards, this crow, which outside of the yurt, started to caw really quick, just for a second, like 2 caws and flew off. Weird. We don't think anything of it until we correlate it with what's going on at this time. Another popular thing that happens, and it's happened to me in a high vibrational state, is to start to see sacred numbers pop up, whether it's on my watch or, on my dashboard or my computer or what have you, or on this timer right now. And that's more of a what we call a group construct that now has given us language. So if you see things like 111, 11111, 222, 333, those kind of numbers, and you're saying, hey, universe, these numbers have meaning to me, that says that you're going to use these to affirm what I am thinking the right way. Okay, so that is another time. What I have learned to do along the way so that I can separate what is my ego thought and what is actually message or intuition is if I have a thought, I'm going to be, and I want something to happen, because sometimes we just want something, right? I always am looking for an affirmation somewhere to correlate that. So like just a minute ago, I was thinking about a certain coach. It's like, oh, I really need to get in touch with them to follow up with them. A couple minutes later, I get a text message from them. That's an affirmation. Isn't that cool? That's really cool. Yeah. Other ways that some people do this, some people use tarot cards. I'm not a big fan of tarot cards. And it's not religious. It's just, it's a lot for me to carry around, and I don't feel like I need it. But some people do. And what I like about tarot for a lot of folks is once you start to learn, it gives you a broad view. It's a larger communication. So I invite you to look at that if it serves your purpose. And a lot of my friends do use tarot because it doesn't say yes or no. It kind of gives you a picture. And then you can kind of use your intuition along with what's being messaged in there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people use pendants, which is usually, whether you're, depending on how the pendant moves. If it's circular, maybe it's yes. If it's up and down, no. Maybe it's left and right, it's maybe. You'll come up with a language or an event-based language to go with that. The other piece I find that helps when I know I'm actually speaking is not just when I have a thought, but also when I have a feeling associated with it. So these for me usually happen in the waking hour or in the early hours of the morning. So like 2:30, 3:30 is typically when they happen. And I'll wake up with a thought or a series of thoughts and a very strong body presence. So my body will tingle. My heart may be tingling, or different parts of my chakra I can literally feel tingling. Okay, not everybody has this, by the way, but what I'm telling you is I like to correlate what my mind, my body, my soul are trying to say to me. And so I'm going to correlate those all together. So these are just some of the ways. There's so much here, but I just want to kind of give you a glimpse. Now, what if you're not receiving that? Well, if you're not receiving that right now, there's nothing wrong with it. It just means that you haven't surrendered or opened yourself to that possibility yet. And this is something you can't force yourself to. This is something that you should be curious about. and ask questions. I mean, the day I found out it was psychic was just so bizarre. I mean, just this random video is on, and silly me asked myself a question. I go, I wonder what that would be like. And boom, hello. And it was like, it freaked me out. I mean, I'll be honest, guys. I mean, I'm coming from a place where I didn't believe in any of this stuff. And it freaked me out. And, I had to call a couple friends, and they called some psychics, and a whole bunch of stuff happened really, really quickly, so that I didn't think I was going nuts. And you're not. You're not going nuts. But it took a while for me to kind of get my head around that there was so much more really out there. Not what people are talking about, but really out there. And that is the growth in your personal journey. So I invite you just to be curious. Don't say, I've got to do this, because that means you don't have it. Ask yourself curious questions like, wonder what that would be like. How would that be? And just discover you for what you are. And you're going to be just fine. All right. I hope this helps you. Leave a comment. Tell me what your journey has been like. If you're psychic particularly, help the other people here and tell what your journey has been like. All right. Take care.